Hi, welcome back. We're here with Alison Salutz from History Colorado Center. How are you today?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about what you do at the History Colorado Center.
Absolutely. So I, kind of like you guys, I'm an educator, but not in a school. I work in a museum. So I think about the exhibits that we have at the museum and then develop programs that help people learn even more from what we have already in our museum.
Nice. So, well, what does the museum have to offer?
The museum really tries to tell us all about Colorado's past. And it does that through interactive exhibits. So you might learn about Colorado's plains and the Homestead Act by coming to the recreated town of Kyoto and gathering eggs and milking the cow and doing fun stuff like that. We also tell stories about mining in Colorado's past. So we have a virtual mine. And in your intro, you talked about the Dust Bowl, and so that's an important part of Colorado's history. And we have a Dust Bowl theater where you can actually experience some of the sounds and sights of what it might have been like to live through a dust storm in Colorado in 1935.
So what was the Dust Bowl?
It was an environmental disaster, basically, that affected the southern and eastern corner of our state. And it was basically an extreme drought that led to rolling storms of dust, which, as you can imagine, might be challenging for farmers and then had a lot of kind of long-lasting repercussions.
What's your favorite permanent exhibit at the center?
Ooh, that's a great question. So we have a ski jump, and I don't know if a lot of your fans
the
are...
Howson Hill one.
Exactly.
There,
yeah, it's a recreation of Howson Hill in Steamboat Springs, and you get the feeling of the wind in your face and the slant of the jump, and it's just a really fun portion of the exhibit.
It's super cool. It's like a video game.
Yes.
It's really neat. You stand on like real skis, but it's a virtual experience.
So it kind of feels like you're doing a ski jump?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh, I'm gonna have to
which
check
is something
that
I've
out.
never been brave
Yeah.
enough to do without virtual reality.
Oh yeah,
so.
those are terrifying.
So if you're afraid, then that's
Yeah, it's
like
a good way.
place to
It's an intro.
get the experience, or maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
What else if you were like a first-time visitor? What would you go see?
First-time visitor. Ooh. Well, right now we have an exhibit called Awkward Family Photos, and it's here through January 8th, and it's just so fun. It's kind of the best of the blog, and actually we had a contest to see if Colorado families were awkward enough to make it in the exhibit, and so we're adding a new photo of a family from Longmont. We can't reveal what it is yet, but we're going to add it to the exhibit on December 6th, and then you can come and see a Colorado family looking awkward, and you can kind of share your family's awkwardness with all the families that are part of the exhibit. It's just a really great,
That's very cool.
it's very fun.
Is that part of why you have the
Yeah, so I
picture
brought
frame?
like a picture frame if you guys were feeling awkward, and you can
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
make your own
Awkward
awkward photo
family
with
photo?
our giant
Oh my
trout.
gosh.
Just like
Sure,
we
give me
have
the
a
trout.
build
Oh,
your
yeah.
own studio in the exhibit, and visitors have taken like the
Missing an
craziest
eye.
photos. It's a rough
You
life
want one
for
with
great.
with the fish?
Yeah, I just want to do this the whole show.
the rest of them.
Kiss the fish. Mwah.
My awkward family. Me and my fish. Oh.
So where did the photos come from? How did you collect them?
So Awkward Family Photos is actually a blog, so people submit to the blog, and then the creators of the blog came up with kind of the best of, and so they framed those, and that's what we have on display in the museum.
Yeah, I had
that's
no
kinda where they're
idea it was
from.
there. I keep seeing it on like the buses,
Yeah.
and I've been wanting to go, but I'm glad that you're telling me it's over in January because
And
now
then-
I
Yeah,
have like
right.
a
You have
deadline.
to January 8th. You've got
I need
to
to get over
there.
there.
And then we have a big collection of historic photos just of our own in our library. So that's kind of why I brought like the more historic looking camera here, which
wow.
it's really neat. And
Wow.
so that kind of complements the exhibit
way
too,
does it
if you
go?
like.
This way?
I think that this is your viewfinder.
Oh,
and that's your lens. So you kind of
Wait,
look more
really?
like the
Yeah.
old-fashioned.
Oh, I see.
okay.
I see.
I was
Yeah,
like,
you look
wait,
down.
Yeah.
It makes sense, and it would be on a tripod, and then I
Yeah,
see. That's really cool.
That is.
So you have a bunch of those. Oh wow.
Yeah, so the History Colorado Center is tasked with keeping track of all of Colorado's past artifacts. So we have tons of things in our collection that just tell the story of the history of the state. So we have like
Oh,
old
wow.
cameras and photos are just
So
part
yeah,
of
an iPhone 2, pretty much. Like,
yeah.
Wasn't that what it was like back then? I'm pretty
Same
sure.
weight, same camera quality.
And you said something about the fiberglass cow milking. Could you tell me more about that?
Oh,
What is-
yeah. So we have a recreated town of Kyoto, Colorado, which was in Colorado's Eastern Plains. It was founded as part of the Homestead Act.
Oh, okay.
And to really help that town come to life in our museum, we have a cow. We affectionately call her Glossy because she's very shiny. But you can get the sensation of milking, and then we have a bucket that kind of fills with light. And when it's full, the bell rings, and it gives you kind of a sense of what would life be like if you lived in Colorado on the Eastern Plains in about 1910.
That was so interesting.
Well, I know you guys specialize in history of Colorado, but I guess I'm just thinking, as a science teacher, what other subjects would it be valuable to come? I assume you guys do geography stuff, and
Absolutely.
do you track data on the history of Colorado? My students might be interested in, I don't know, snowfall or rainfall
Weather
or something like that.
patterns,
Is
yeah.
that the kind of stuff you might be able to see there? Anything like that?
Absolutely, and especially in that Dust Bowl area. And if you are teachers, I'll put a little plug. If you haven't been to the History Colorado Center, our next Educator Open House is Tuesday, November 29th. And so you could see all our exhibits and
Okay.
decide, how does this connect to my curriculum? But for science and environmental, the exhibit with the Dust Bowl, it talks about water throughout the exhibit. So it talks about water in Mesa Verde, where ancestral Puebloans were living in about 600 to 1200 AD. Then it talks about water in the Dust Bowl, and then water in our mountains today, and how important Colorado's kind of the people that live here are tied to the environment of this state. And so there's a lot there. And then as you enter the museum, there's a giant map of Colorado on the floor. And we've had a lot of fun with our friends that work in geography, making interactives for teachers to use that correlate to that map. So there's a lot of really great connections.
Yeah.
What other things do you offer for teachers, in regards to field trips and things like that?
Yeah, we have field trips. So you can always bring your students down to the museum, but if maybe that's a challenge, we also have online exhibits, and we even have a digital badge system. So as a teacher, you could actually sign in and have all your students complete a digital badge, and you could see their progress, you could see how well they're answering the questions that relate to the exhibits that they're seeing. So all of those are kind of amazing resources for teachers, because you can get some of these topics just really bring them to light within your classroom.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What also about the open house? Are there two other museums involved in that? Is that-
Yeah, so it's a collaboration.
Great.
Because geographically we're really close to the Denver Art Museum and the Clifford Still Museum, it seems like we need to make teachers' lives as easy as possible. So you come this night and you get access to all three, and you can register online through our website. There's a link, and then there's also a link through the Art Museum.
Cool.
Yeah,
Very
so it should
cool.
be really fun. A fun night.
Wow. What about families? Do you have anything that you guys offer for families? Anything?
Yes, we do a lot of really fun family programs, and we have one coming up that I think is going to be particularly fun. Since we talked a bit about the Homestead Act and that town of Kyoto, we're going to have gingerbread houses done by Art Institute
What?
students at the museum very
cool.
soon.
Oh, wow.
From
Those will probably
November.
be really cool.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
of historic houses in Colorado, which will be kind of neat. So they'll be here from November 25th to December 11th. But then while they're here, we're doing a workshop for families where you get your supplies like it's the Homestead Act, except you're going to build a mini gingerbread house at the end. So you get your water rations and your land rations and all of that. So kind of the premise of the Homestead Act, but also the fun and edibleness of building your own gingerbread house. So I think that's going to be really fun. It's on December 3rd from 10:30 to noon, and it's just a great way to kind of have a nice grounding in Colorado history, but then also celebrate some of the fun of our winter holidays.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Can you tell me a little bit more about those other two artifacts you have
Yeah,
over there?
absolutely. So I also brought, just because I think they're neat and fun, this is a parfleche. So it's a piece of rawhide that's been painted and used as basically I liken it to a backpack. So if you had stuff that you wanted to, it's kind of hard to see, but I don't know.
Wow.
You had stuff that you wanted to carry with you,
like a little
you would put
purse.
it in here. And we see these very often with Plains Indians, like Shannon Arapaho.
Okay.
Often would have parfleche, and they would carry them on their horses. So you could see how this would fit pretty nicely and compactly, even though now it's not,
like folding
it's
a
not
map, right?
acting
Never-
nicely.
never
Yeah,
folds
right.
back
It's not.
right.
So that's kind of what this is. And then we talked a little bit about our miners our exhibit on mining, but this is a miner's lunchbox. So just kind
I
of,
thought it was a
we
canned
eat
food.
lunch every day, but it's sometimes fun to think about, well, how would you eat lunch if you worked in a cold mine? You didn't have the opportunity to have hot lunch. So they actually have this trade system. So there are different trays in here. On this very bottom layer, this would be tea or coffee. And when the miner got to the mine, like, you know, you're ready for work, you're getting situated, you would hang this above a candle, and throughout the day as you're working, the candle heats this layer of tea, which in turn then heats your pasty. So you would have a warm, this is like a pastry dough with veggies and meat inside, and so this would be warm by the time lunch came around. So this is a good opportunity to talk about how we can use limited resources in a way that's really innovative, as well as explore something that most folks don't know about Colorado history, is thinking about, okay, well, how did our miners pack lunch and what did they eat? And it would vary
Yeah.
a lot depending on the miner, like maybe everyone didn't like these, so that was very common,
Right.
but this is a pretty traditional lunch.
That's pretty like innovative and brilliant. Considering I thought it was like a canteen, but
Yeah.
actually it's got a
Yeah.
Like, this is way smarter than the way I pack my lunch.
Yeah, right.
Yes, I know. Just throw it in some Tupperware and go. It's,
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Way
it does
better.
make me think of all the
And then-
kind of like ultralight backpacking stuff that
Right.
people do, where they have
like a little-
nesting pots
for
with
your
all their
tea.
pieces.
Little,
Right.
little cup for your tea. Yeah. And that's like the lid.
Yeah.
And you have like a little like plate built in almost, right?
Yeah, that's really
And
cool.
like, there's dried fruit in here and pickles. So we talk a bit about the fact that, like, if you are not a farmer, getting fruits and vegetables can be challenging, but if you can dry and pickle them, they're going to last a lot longer.
Oh, yeah.
And we can ship those on the train all over the country. So maybe your pickle was pickled in, I don't know, Kansas City, and then you end up eating it in Silverton, Colorado. Yeah.
That was also cool.
Yeah. There's some fun stuff.
Anything else you can think of to tell our viewers about the history
About the
of Colorado
museum?
Colorado Center?
I don't think so. I think if you haven't been down and you've seen the posters around town to come and see our Awkward Family Photos exhibit, you should come, because it'll
Yeah.
be a great way to share your family memories with the rest of the state, everybody in Colorado. Yeah,
Sure, we all have some awkward family photos laying around.
definitely. I know I do. They might be in the
Thankfully, are
exhibit.
not on exhibit for everybody to see.
Yes.
Mine are
Mom,
hidden.
Keep those
Yeah.
hidden, please. Please, please. All right. What theater pieces? Are there theater pieces coming up?
We do. We have different performers and demonstrators on weekends at the museum. And so we have some museum theater actors where we actually, the setting is one of our exhibit areas, and then they bring a particular story to life. So those are always really great to catch too. There's like a tonic salesman who tries to like sell you his tonics. And just like highlighting different unique stories about Colorado's past.
It's really
And can
cool.
you find out about this stuff online?
That is probably the best way, because we do have so many different and fun
Yeah.
programs coming up, that our event calendar is a great way to just keep on top of all the programs that I've told you guys
Right.
about today.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you have an idea of, since the Awkward Family Photo exhibit is sadly going away, of what's going to replace that?
I do. It's kind of still in production, but I can let you guys know that it is going to be a combination of artwork, like a few pretty iconic Western art pieces, and then we're going to pair them with artifacts that tell the story of the real West, as well as these kind of gorgeous landscapes of the West. Also, who's living here when people like Thomas Moran were coming and painting these Western landscapes. So that's what we're looking at next. I think it's a bit of a shift from Awkward Family
Yeah.
Photos, still stuff in
Yeah.
frames, but slightly different topic. But I think it's going to be really interesting for people to see artwork paired with history, artifacts, and objects.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining
Yeah,
us.
thank you, guys.
If you are interested in more, what's the website?
It's historycolorado.org.
Okay, so historycolorado.org, as you can see it on your screen. As Allison mentioned, you can go to the calendar of events if you missed some of those days and times, and maybe check out some of the other things that they have to offer. But sounds like you have a lot of fun things coming up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely
Good
be
call.
visiting that website so you can figure out all of the different things that you can see. So thank you so much for visiting.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to take a little break. We'll be back with you in just a moment to answer some more of your questions.